Welcome, everyone. So, we begin another episode of Never Safe for Work. This week, Matt's going to be away, so I will be pulling hosting duties. If you want to get in touch with us, you can email us at info@neversafeforwork.com. Matt's Twitter handle is at MTWB. Vince is at VWHUI, and I am at Ricky_Williams1. This week, we are going to talk about the awesome and best DC show on TV ever, The Flash. So, well, since I was the one who picked it, Vince, why don't you go ahead and start out? Oh, sorry, I should start off by just describing it a bit. So the TV show follows Barry Allen, the Flash, Barry Allen.
It actually follows. I think you should mention the Green Arrow thing, because I think that was something for me that was the connection there, because if you start the season of The Flash without knowing anything that's happened in the Green Arrow, there are a couple of gaps, I suspect.
I don't think so.
Again, I was never a fan of Arrow all that much, but
okay.
Like, it's okay.
All right. Well, yeah. So the Flash TV show follows Barry Allen, how he became the Flash, and just onwards from there. It does have some crossover episodes with Oliver, Green Arrow from the TV show Arrow, and I believe there are. I've never watched Arrow, but I believe there were some inklings of the Flash in the Arrow. DC has already said that they will link all of their properties, so it's not, hard to know. I mean, even in these last few episodes, for instance, the Flash mentioned Ferris Air, which, as we know, of course, that's where Hal Jordan worked, and they mentioned that it was shut down, and he said. It was shut down because one of their test pilots disappeared. Of course, Easter egg. That's green.
That's pretty overt. That's pretty overt, man.
Yeah, no, but he mentioned Ferris Air, and he said, the test pilot. That's definitely Green Lantern. Not to say they will have a Green Lantern show, but I think they're smart enough to put that in there in case they do have one, that they've already, they can just, come back from that. Anyway, so yeah, we've watched it. So Vince is gonna give us his take, and then I will give my take.
Okay, so I didn't watch the whole first season. I found that the series, in a nutshell, Ricky, I think it watches very much like a comic book on one level, but I'd say that it actually it previews and shows more like a video game. Okay, I find that episode to episode there is a minuscule amount of story advancement and progress. Like, I'm at the point where we're learning that the guy that revived him after the explosion is really potentially a bad guy, right? Because he's hiding stuff from.
You didn't get into it at all. Wow.
Sorry?
You didn't get into it at all.
I couldn't get into it because the thing was so repetitive. Like, let's put it this way. It's basically a formulaic thing of there's a bad scene, there's metahuman. Okay, sorry. Barry Allen is a metahuman because of that, Star Labs incident or whatever, right? And there's this kind of ongoing big story arc where he's trying to, as a CSI person, he's pretty much trying to sort out his mom's questionable death. But in the process of him becoming the Flash, a bunch of other people became metahumans, or at least that's the kind of idea that's put out there. So for the whole entire series that I've seen, okay, I think I saw up to the point where he actually gets officially called the Flash. So for all the shows that I saw, it was pretty much find a metahuman committing a crime, hunt him down and realize one little bit more about Flash's powers. And that's all that's happened. It's been pretty repetitive, and you got to admit that's true. Come on, Rick. With a minuscule amount of storyline advancing, and quite frankly, I think that it's video game-ish, but then at the same time, the visuals. See, the thing is with Gotham, which I'm a fan of, it's much better, and it is still in the DC universe. Gotham, it's actually doesn't read like a comic book. Like, people wear outfits that don't scream, "I'm from a comic book." Remember that scene in the X-Men movies where in the first X-Men movie, where like the X-Men are suiting up, and then I think Wolverine goes, "What do you think I was going to wear? Something like yellow with black stripes or something like that?" In this case, that's the same problem. I find that Barry Allen's costume and all the other costumes of these superheroes.
Because you were breaking up like crazy a little while ago.
Oh, sorry, buddy. But did you hear what I was saying?
Well, no, you were breaking up. I heard you said as far as Gotham is a good story, that was it.
Okay, so the thing is, Gotham's got a good story, but the problem that the thing that I like about it is that the characters are actually wearing visible costumes that could actually be believable in the real world. Whereas it reads like a comic book when you're watching The Flash, because the Flash thing, it's like super colorful, comic booky, and you really can't get into the grittiness of what you'd imagine would be like something on par with, like say the Batman series, certainly the Gotham series, and arguably, even the Arrow. Like, I mentioned it last week, but I think the Arrow costume is a little bit more subdued than the stuff that you see in the costumes and the presentation of the material in The Flash. You gotta admit that, man.
Yep. So here's the thing. I think we're just two different people in what we're looking for here. Like, for me, I've always loved the Flash. He's one of my favorite characters, one of my favorite DC characters for sure, because as I've said before, I'm not a huge DC guy. Just got turned on to DC like a year ago.
Right.
2 years ago now, I guess. But I've always loved Flash, even when I was younger, when I thought comics all came from the same place. I've always loved Flash. Here's the thing. For me, okay, I'll touch on the whole costume and aspect that you were just saying, but I think it builds from episode to episode. I think just watching the first three, you only saw, yes, they were hunting metahumans to lock them up.
Yeah.
You learn a little bit more, but beyond that is when they really started getting into it. And you have to realize that what the audience that they're going for here are people who haven't read the comic, who may know about the character Flash, just like everyone knows Batman, but they don't know the origin. They don't know. So, with Flash, his power is that he runs really fast. He thinks really fast. He hits really fast. Like, you can't present that in a way to hook people, without having that superhero aspect of it. Like, for me, I like it a lot because, like I said, I love the character of Flash, and this show has been really close to the actual comic book. Like,
Actually, before or after the Infinite Earth stuff,
before, definitely before. Because you can find like real volume 1 comic of the Flash, Barry Allen Flash. You can find an issue where he's battling Captain Cold and Heatwave. They had an episode like that. I don't know if you got that far.
Yeah, I didn't.
The guy who helped him, who revived him, the scientist who's in the wheelchair, he's actually the Reverse Flash, and the wheelchair is like his cover. He's Professor Thawne. So, he's from the future. Like, if you watch it, they have that, right? And that it from the comics, you have that. There are things where they stray from the comics a bit, obviously, like every, movies do the same thing. They're not, like for instance, we said Age of Ultron, there's no Hank Pym in there, right?
Yeah.
They change things, they stray. That's, whatever, they to make it more believable, make it more whatever. So there are things that they stray from, but there are a lot of things, like, with the villains he's fighting, like Gorilla Grodd is in it later on.
They actually make
Like you
things.
see, huh?
They actually make like I just know a couple of the Flash villains,
Yeah,
and like Gorilla Grodd. Do they actually make it look convincing?
yeah. I mean, I may be biased because I like the show. Maybe if you saw it, you wouldn't think so. But I mean, it's not like, it was the way they presented it. I thought it was really well done. Um, and then they have had episodes where Oliver Queen comes to town. They have had what's his name, the Atom.
Oh,
They've had, yeah, hinting at there's Firestorm. He is created by the explosion. So it is actually, to me, really cool because they follow the comic. Like for instance, Iris West, who is his love interest or whatever. There was a point where the Reverse Flash was going to, or they show him actually vibrating his hands through people to kill them. Like, it has a lot of aspects, right?
mhm.
So for me, I like that a lot. The thing where you said where the costumes are, kind of flashy, kind of video gamey, like I said, with this, I think it has to be that way because, and for me, I like it. I like when I watch my superhero show, it has superheroes. Like, that's one of the things that I hate the most about Agents of Shield, because they try to pretend like, oh, in this show there's no such thing as, superhero, superhuman, whatever. They say, oh, as guardians are aliens. Oh, there's no such thing as what do you call it, the guy who says he knows the future. Oh no, there's no such person like that on the index. You know what I mean? Like, they try to make it seem like, oh, this is such a show where we're dealing with, people. Like, they make it seem like there's no special powers. It's just people who are stronger, smarter, whatever. There's no, you know what I mean? Like, oh, Hulk, or, like Superman, like people who have actual superpowers. Like, for me, if I'm watching a superhero show, I want that. I want to see the Flash run really fast. I want to see Superman use his heat ray vision. Like, I like that. That's the reason I read the comic books. You know what I
I'm
mean?
not
Like,
saying that it's that you like. I absolutely agree that you should see, like, if you're watching a superhero show, you want to see the superpowers in action, or at least the kind of dilemmas that the superhero may face in trying to not compromise their secret identities and stuff, right? I get that, but I'm more talking about the reason why I was talking about the comic bookiness of it is because, as I said, it's flashy. It's like it seems so out of what you would expect. Like, if the superhero, like, if you look at what was successful with the costumes in Batman, in the Superman movie, those recent ones that come out, right? They all kind of ground them so it doesn't like look like they're coloring books, like they stick out. Whereas in the Flash, I found that the bad guys and the Flash certainly, their outfits stick out, and I really can't negotiate.
yeah,
Like,
but I think, like, if you look at it, right, as, like, for instance, Gotham or Batman, it's very different, right? If you look at the
Central
superhero of
City
the
needs more
Flash,
lighting.
well, the thing, right? If you look at a superhero like the Flash, like I said, he runs really fast.
Yep.
Like, that's his superpower. You know what I mean? If you look at his villains, Captain Cold, he has a gun that shoots ice. You know what I mean?
Now, I didn't like
Firestorm.
Captain Cold, but does he wear the Eskimo outfit and everything too, and with the weird
No,
slot?
no, he's just like a, because it's been modernized, right? So
Yeah.
he's like a thug. right? Like he wears a leather jacket. It's the dude from Prison Break,
A
the
lot of dudes from Prison Break.
the main guy who was always
Oh,
on
the guy
posters.
that came out.
Yeah, I'd never watched Prison Break, but I know it's him.
Yeah.
But you know, like I was saying, so for instance, you know, he wears normal city clothing, but I mean, his thing is that he has a gun that freezes things, right? Like they're different villains. Where if you look at Gotham, you know, like there's the Riddler, there's Catwoman, you know, Fish Moody. I don't know. I never watched Gotham, but I mean they are more, you know what I mean? Like they don't have superpowers, you know, like I don't know if they have Two-Face in that show,
Yeah,
but
but he's normal, right? But
you know what
like
I
look,
mean? Like
Superman, right? But let's look at Superman. Like even his costume, which traditionally is like the big bold blue, the big like deep red, and the big yellow stuff. Like they muted it all down in
yeah, but
the.
that's for the movie, right? Like you're comparing
I mean,
the
it's
movie
kind
to a
of position
show
things as real heroes
with
in the real world, right?
yeah, but if you look at for instance, they have a trailer for Supergirl. Have you seen it? It's
I think I saw
it's
clips of it.
really yeah, it's really bright colors. It's I mean, if you look at Smallville, you know what I mean. Like I think with you know, I mean, like I said, I think we're different people because I really like the Flash, and I like his villains. I just like the superhero, the superpowers aspect of it. I like that.
But
Um,
let's just move forward though with this, because if you go with that and knowing all the rumors and stuff about the kind of the amalgamation to the big Justice League movie that's coming up eventually, right? They're gonna have like from what I understand, they're gonna bring like all the characters, including the ones from the TV shows, into the Justice League movies. Not maybe the first one, but certainly moving forward, right? There's going to have to be this reconciliation between the kind of grittiness that you see in what we saw in the Superman versus Batman movie, where it's like kind of real world. The Superman outfit's kind of muted, like it was in the past. Batman's outfit again muted, and then you're gonna have to find a way to make sure that hey, that really bright green on Arrow, that really bright red on Flash doesn't well, it has to get modernized, and it also has to kind of work within the kind of grittiness that you see that they've invested in so much in the movies, right? That's my issue, because there's going to be that bridging from TV to the movies. Marvel is able to do it because, let's be honest here, the Marvel movies are already chintzy, and like, you know, Iron Man is bright red, you know, Captain America is bright blue. It's a different kind of universe.
yeah, exactly. I mean, Marvel is very. It's not as dark and whatever. But see, that's the thing with the TV show too. That also you have to look at is that you know I think the Flash is a more you know whereas Arrow seems to be a more
It's dark and gritty too.
darker. I mean Gotham, same thing. It seems to be darker. Flash, I think, is a more fun. It's a more fun show. Like even people that I've talked to, you know, they will tell you, "Oh yeah, it's a show that they would watch with, you know, their wife who is not into comics or whatever, or their daughter or whoever, but they would never watch the other shows with their children, just because they're not as fun. They're not as you know even the villains are not it's not like you know they're going to you know kill this person in a way that's so gory, right? Like if
That's
if you look at the Daredevil, that a lot of people have said that's the first show that Marvel has done where they've done it right, and that's because they were on Netflix, so you
yeah.
know they didn't have the crazy rules and stuff, and it was very dark, it was very gory, it was very you know so it's the same. I think this show is just more lighthearted. It's more, and I think the same thing with the Supergirl show. If you look at that too, I think that is also going to be very lighthearted, more fun. It might have a little bit of seriousness to it, just like the Flash does, because it deals with stuff like, you know, this
Others.
person killed his mom, and he's trying to, you know, do that. but it still does it in, you know, a sort of a light-hearted kind of. It's a more, you know, it's not as serious and drama-ish and gritty and dark. I mean, that's just my feeling on it.
I was going to ask you in the context of the comics. I don't because I don't know Flash all that well, right? But like the guy's a CSI guy, right? So he's pretty
Yeah.
much doing gritty murders and stuff all the time. Is there ever, or was there ever, a kind of level of villain that was dark and gritty? Like, I mean, I can't, like, all these are really like pop
Yeah,
kind
you're
of
breaking up a bit. That was what? A
like
villain that was.
they're very pop villains. The villains are very like cartoony. Are like whereas like in Batman you have like child molesters and stuff, right? You know, you have in Superman you have a guy that's Lex Luthor who's using corporate means to really find ways to manipulate the system and stuff. In
Yeah.
Flash, it seems like it's like the typical like run really fast and punch them kind of guys. Like bad.
No, well, no. With the comic, I mean, like I said, the show is very lighthearted. You know, I said like they've stayed to the comic with certain elements, but not everything. You know, there are still moments. You know, like I said, for instance, there was one where in two incidents where the Reverse Flash vibrated his hand through people's chest, killing both people.
Yeah.
In the comics, though, um, I would say probably the Reverse Flash is the villain that you would find that was more
Dark.
uh, dark, right? Not dark in a way. It wasn't in the level of Batman, because for instance, the first Reverse Flash, he was a fan of Flash. He went back in time to try and meet him, and by going back in time, his brain got scrambled, like he, you know, went nuts. So, and
Bull.
so since then, he's devoted his life to sort of making the Flash's life a living hell, right? And so he killed his wife. You know, the Flash met another woman that he, you know, they got engaged. They were going to get married. He tried to kill that woman too. You know, he would pull the Flash into the Speed Force to try and kill him. You know, like different
That's
things.
dedication, man.
Yeah, he was a more serious villain where it wasn't like, you know, okay, I'm doing this, I'm putting together this sort of scheme, you know, Flash is gonna try and stop me, but, you know, with him, it was more about destroying the Flash or destroying the Flash's life, right? So if you look it up, you can see that all the Flashes, I mean, maybe the first Flash was a bit more because that was back in like the 40s or something. So that story.
Like
But
years.
going forward, like Barry Allen, Wally West, whatever, they seem to be. It's the typical superhero where
Yeah.
they never get a break, right? It's like, you know, one after the other. It's like all these events keep happening. But you know, unlike if you look at Superman, it's like all this bad stuff happens, but then, you know, he might marry Lois Lane, or, you know what I mean? Like there are, with Flash, it's not like that. I mean, not that I can see, right? It's like he loves this girl, and, you know, this happens, he fights these people, then this person kills her. You know what I mean? Okay, so he moves on, he finds this other girl, and this person, you know what I mean? So it's, yeah, I mean,
Ain't easy.
yeah, it ain't easy being the Flash, but he definitely isn't as dark as the other members, like, for instance, Batman, Superman, you know, like that sort of stuff. It'll be interesting to see when they bring him into the movie if they're going to use the same actor that's in the TV show, because I know a lot of people like him, but you know what I mean? Like, it would be weird if you use someone else, but it's that thing where they look at the TV show as a like small screen, you know what I mean? So it'll be interesting to see if they still use the same guy, you
Yeah.
know?
I don't mind the acting. Overall, I still am not really convinced about it. Like I said, maybe it's the first season. Maybe it's because all the episodes were very repetitive, but um, I wasn't all too enthralled with it compared to, like, say, I don't know, Gotham. And I said even Arrow. Anyways, I don't want to keep you too late on this one, but that's my take on it. I gather you're a fan of it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, see, that's the thing, right? Because I mean, even I've seen the previews for Gotham before it first came out. I wasn't interested at all. I've never, even in the comics, I've never really been a big fan of Green Arrow. So when I saw that show, didn't interest me at all. And you know, like I said, I've been always been a big fan of the Flash. So when I saw it, like for sure, I was like, oh my gosh, I've got to watch this. But beyond that, watching it, like I really like it. I think you would just have to watch a couple more episodes so that you get further into the story than them just chasing the metahumans. I think if you got further into the story where you realize that the dude in the wheelchair is the Reverse Flash, and then beyond that, because even now if you watch it, they've strayed like far from the whole chasing metahumans thing.
Oh, really?
You
Okay.
know, yeah, right, like they do it for a while, and I think that's just to hook people because you have different people with different powers, and it's cool, and he's finding out what his powers are. But at a certain point, it goes beyond that into where he starts looking into this guy and who is this guy, and I think that's where, like, they still have the whole metahumans thing. It's just not as prominent,
Okay.
right? It's more they're going off into the whole, okay, this is the guy that came back and killed your mom. He's from the future, you know, and it's finding out the little clues about that. So I think if you hung in there a little more, you might have enjoyed it a bit more. But you know, it's hard to say.
Don't make promises you can't keep, man.
So there you have it. That is our take on the show The Flash. Check it out. I think it's a really good show. This season is over. Ended on quite a crazy cliffhanger. Um, yeah, I would say check it out if you like The Flash, if you like the character of The Flash, if you like DC Comics, if you just like comics in general. At least check out the first 4 or 5 episodes like Vince tried to do. See if it's for you.
You gave it a shot. Hey, I'm not gonna knock it. It's just not my cup of tea, man. It's like we start watching Fast and Furious movies.
So we will be back next week. Hopefully, Matt will be back with us because I believe we are doing Goodfellas, which was his choice.
Yeah,
So, yeah, he better be back.
Yeah.
All right. Take it easy, everyone.
Take care, guys.